Yo, what up, gamers? It's your boy, Jax Films, and today we're going to watch KSI react to offensive Family Guy moments. Now, unless you live in a cave and live under a rock and were born yesterday, you know who KSI is. KSI is, of course, internationally known, hyper-famous YouTuber who does many things. He reacts. He reacts to fun footage, and he also boxes, he fights, and he does a lot of other things, I think. But what he's doing in this video is he is reacting to offensive Family Guy moments. And so this video is a bit of a double whammy, a bit of a double your pleasure, double your fun kind of thing, because you're not just watching the video for the Family Guy clips, which in and of itself would be a wondrous video in its own right. We're also watching KSI react to it. So we get to see if KSI guffaws at these offensive jokes, if he cringes at these offensive jokes, or if he's, purely neutral, whether lawful or chaotic, or, take your pick amongst that scale, if you know, you know. But that's what we're witnessing here today. It's a bit of a 2-for-1 deal, and I'm super excited to see how this pans out, because Family Guy has a long-winded, long-storied history that I would love to talk about just very briefly. Because I remember watching Family Guy years and years and years ago, back when I was in college, which was a lifetime ago, right? But I watched Family Guy so long ago that I remember when it was canceled and renewed, not once, but twice. Yes, that's right. It was canceled and renewed 2 times. And this was back in the day where I loved the first 3 seasons of Family Guy oh so much that I owned them on boxed DVD sets. And hey, remember DVDs? Remember Blu-rays? No, you probably do. They're not that archaic. And of course, honestly, in these uncertain times of the streaming wars, right? It's more important now more than ever to own your media, own physical copies of your media. What with the travesties with the HBO Max and the Discovery acquisition. You never know if your show's going to get a next season or if your show's just going to disappear off the face of the earth without a trace, and it's just terrible. So mayhaps DVDs and Blu-rays will come back, although if they do, just make sure you get the PS5 with the optical disc drive. Don't get the PS5 quote unquote slim, for lack of a better term. Otherwise, you're just going to be up what's creek without a paddle. So physical media do be coming back. But yeah, back to Family Guy. I used to watch Family Guy religiously. Appropriate, since it was, airing on every Sundays. That was my church, my religion, 8 p.m. on Fox or whenever it aired. I would be watching my Family Guy. I'd watch Stewie say the funny things, and I had a good time. Now, it's been more than a New York minute since I've last watched a full episode of Family Guy, start to finish. In fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I did that, but I do see Family Guy in clips on in compilations on YouTube, and that's how I keep up with the current memes and such. Right now, there's a Lois scream that's super memey right now, being used in TikTok sound bites and such. If you know, you know. But I don't watch full episodes so much anymore, and I don't know if there's a reason for that. I don't want to say I grew out of Family Guy, so to speak, but I will say just the whole medium of sitcoms and comedies. It's very hard to keep that engaging. Sign me up for the 1-hour drama. You know what I'm saying? Or even the half-hour drama. I'm all about White Lotus, either season, really. And many, Better Call Saul, all those types of shows. They still make sense. Family Guy's, I don't know, it's trickier to, do people have the patience to sit down, watch a full 22-minute episode of Family Guy with commercial breaks, when the story, pardon my opinion, doesn't matter so much. You watch Family Guy for the jokes and the ha-has, but guess what? This is what YouTube is for. I hate to say it, but people just re-upload funny clips, Best of Quagmire, part 3 or 4, it's like a 20-minute compilation of just all the best, raunchiest Quagmire jokes, right? So the format of the animated sitcom, as we know it, network sitcom, I'm not talking about Netflix sitcoms and such, but the network, not basic cable, but just network television sitcoms, it's just getting harder and harder to justify, right? Sitting down and watching a whole episode, front to back, start to finish. But with the medium of YouTube, the brilliance of being able to break them down into these compilations, now that makes a lot more sense. And that's what we're going to do today. We're not watching a full episode of Family Guy. No. We are watching KSI react to part 4, it seems, of a multi-episode series of their most offensive jokes. And that's the other thing about Family Guy. If you know anything about Family Guy, you know it's all about the edge, right? The edgy humor, the offensive jokes. And that's what's really set Family Guy apart from other such sitcoms, even from The Simpsons. Yes, The Simpsons was a network television pioneer of adult humor, animated humor, and such. But I will say Family Guy penned the cutaway gag. And I should be careful with my terminology here. They didn't invent the cutaway gag. Because when The Simpsons is 10 years Family Guy senior. It's been around for 10 years more than Family Guy has. But The Simpsons had, if not cutaway gags, they had flashbacks, right? Loads of flashbacks. Like, honestly, Marge would be like, remember, Homer, when you blah, blah, blah. And then you'd hear the harp music, and we'd see the flashback, right? And so that's been around. I'm not saying Family Guy invented the flashback. And then they didn't even invent the cutaway gag, but they really trademarked it, and made it their own, right? They really did. And another thing with the cutaway gag is it's less about a flashback, right? And more about an alternate universe. Because they'll say oh, Peter, remember the time when Barack Obama was on Family Feud? And then they'll cut to Barack Obama on Family Feud, show me democracy. So it's not a flashback per se, but more of a peek into an alternate universe, a parallel universe, if you will, where that canonically took place. But the other thing about Family Guy that makes it hyper interesting is its edge, right? Those cutaway gags tend to be offensive, edgy, right? And that's something I want to just touch upon today before we dive into this reaction of a reaction, is offensive humor. And where do we draw the line here? And that's why I'm fascinated by this. I'm fascinated to see how KSI will react to these offensive jokes, right? Will there be some awkwardness, some hesitancy, or will he lean in? Will he lean in and truly be animated in his, pardon the pun, in his reactions, right? And that all depends on, if there's a little meter or a spectrum of, offensiveness in these jokes. And that's the other thing about, do you do offensive jokes for the sake of being offensive? Is edgy humor edgy for the sake of being edgy? And I think good humor is not. Good humor has a point to the edge. Usually it's deeply rooted in satire. The edge is crucial for the joke to work. It's not to the joke's detriment, but rather it works in its favor. And I have a theory that everyone has a line that they will not cross. Let's be real. We all want to think that we all have good senses of humor, right? Everyone wants to think oh, I have a great sense of humor. Hey, you can tell me anything. I think everything's funny. I love dark humor. I love edge. And we all want to think that to some degree. But I do think, I do believe, even the people that sing the praises of edgy comedy, I think everyone has a line. They have something that they keep sacred, some belief, some principle, an event, something that they hold sacred and they hold dear. And you can't joke about that. It's different for everyone, right? I just want you watching at home, I want you to think what's one thing that no comedian should ever make fun of for you, right? We all have that. And I think the good comedians, Seth MacFarlane, et cetera, they know how to take these sacred taboo untouchables and, just swing a home run and make not just an offensive joke with it, right? But use it structurally, with meaning, with purpose, with satire. And that's why I think Family Guy has been around for 20 years, 2+ decades, because they know how to do offensive humor. They know how to keep that edge that a lot of sitcoms, animated or otherwise, have since lost ever since it premiered, in 1999? Are you kidding me? But there's a point to it. There's a point to the offensiveness most of the time. I won't say that every joke in Family Guy is perfect, but that's the beauty of comedy. You have to try. You have to test the boundaries to see where the boundaries are, where the line falls, to know not to cross it. and then sometimes cross it anyway, right? And that's what we're going to watch today. We're going to see how KSI reacts to these boundaries, reacts to these offensive jokes, that are presented in front of us. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. All right, gamers, let's begin.